You have been choosing the wrong protein. Not slightly wrong. Not close, but not quite right. Wrong in a way that the entire fitness industry has been quietly aware of for years while continuing to sell you the same thing, because the correct answer doesn't have a $40 tub with a muscular person on it. You have been told that whey is king, that whey is the gold standard, that everything else is second place and you should feel grateful. Whey even lets the other proteins sit at the same table. And you believed it, because everyone around you believed it, because everyone around them believed it. And somewhere at the beginning of this chain of belief is a supplement marketing campaign from the early 2000s that got so deep into gym culture that it became indistinguishable from scientific fact. It isn't. And the actual protein quality data, measured in humans, in peer-reviewed labs, using the most rigorous method science currently has, tells a very different story. Here's the thing that should make you genuinely annoyed. The system that was used for decades to rank protein quality, the one that told you soy was nearly as good as whey, that all complete proteins are basically equal, that you could trust the numbers on your tub, was fundamentally flawed, and the scientific community replaced it over a decade ago. The old system, called PDCAAS, measured protein quality by testing how much protein came out the other end of an animal. Not absorbed, just not in the stool. And it capped every high-quality protein at a perfect score, meaning whey, beef, egg, and milk all got identical ratings, and comparing them was supposedly pointless. And the new system, DIAAS, measures absorption at the end of the small intestine, where absorption actually happens. It doesn't cap scores. It measures each individual amino acid separately. And when researchers ran the actual numbers, the rankings shifted in ways that nobody who profits from selling whey protein wants you to know about. The highest protein quality score ever recorded in human trials is not whey. It's not egg. It's not beef. The highest DIAAS ever measured in humans, using gold standard ileal intubation methodology published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, belongs to casein. The boring, slow, cheap, often dismissed protein that people buy when they run out of whey. Casein scored 145. Whey isolate scored 109. Your entire understanding of which protein is superior just changed in the span of one sentence. And the reason it changed is that the supplement industry has been ranking proteins using a system that was specifically designed to make all of them look equal at the top. They weren't equal. They were never equal. And the rankings that actually reflect what your body does with each protein source are available. They've been available for years. And nobody's been talking about them. And then there is the egg situation, which is actually so embarrassing for the conventional wisdom that I need you to sit with this one for a second. Researchers fed resistance-trained men either whole eggs or egg whites containing the exact same amount of protein after a workout. Same grams. Same amino acid content. Same leucine levels. Blood measurements confirmed identical amino acid delivery to the bloodstream. And the group eating whole eggs built 40% more muscle. Not slightly more. 40%. With the same protein, because the yolk, which everyone cutting calories has been throwing in the bin for years, activates a muscle-building pathway through lipid signaling that the protein itself cannot activate alone. The thing you were told to avoid because of cholesterol was the thing doing 40% of the anabolic work. So let's talk about what the science actually says, because this is the payoff video. This is everything the previous videos in this series have been building toward. We've talked about why your protein isn't absorbing. We've talked about timing. We've talked about whey destroying your gut. We've talked about your bacteria stealing your gains. And all of that was set up for this moment. The actual answer to which protein source gives your body the most to work with per gram consumed. The DIAAS scoring system ranks proteins by measuring the true allele digestibility of every individual essential amino acid, then identifies the single most limiting one as the score. A score above 100 means the protein exceeds every requirement your body has. The rankings from human studies look like this. Casein sits at the top with a score of 145. Whole milk protein follows closely. Whey protein concentrate scores around 110 to 133, depending on processing. Whey isolate scores 109. Beef scores around 112. Whole eggs score 113. egg whites alone score around 101. Then, the drop becomes significant. Pea protein isolate in the best human studies scores around 100, better than previously thought, but still meaningfully behind the top tier. Soy protein isolate falls around 84 to 90. Rice protein crashes to 37. Hemp protein lands around 45 to 63. These aren't opinions. These are measured values from peer-reviewed human trials, and the gap between casein at 145 and rice at 37 is not a rounding error. That is a fundamentally different product being sold under the same word, protein. Now here's what actually matters about those numbers. The reason casein scores so high isn't just amino acid completeness. It's that virtually every amino acid it contains is absorbed with extraordinary efficiency. Measured real allele digestibility across all amino acids in casein comes in at around 97%. And despite being a slow-digesting protein that releases amino acids over 6 to 8 hours rather than spiking and declining like whey, the total anabolic response is exceptional precisely because of that extended release. While whey is spiking and clearing, casein is quietly feeding your muscles for the entire overnight recovery window. The supplement industry sold you whey as the post-workout king and let you figure out the rest yourself. The rest is casein. Always has been. The leucine story matters here too because leucine is the specific amino acid that flips the molecular switch for muscle protein synthesis. It does this by binding to a sensor protein in your cells called cestrin-2, which triggers the mTOR pathway, the same anabolic cascade that resistance training activates. Whey contains around 11 grams of leucine per 100 grams of protein. That is genuinely elite, and it's the real scientific basis for whey's reputation. Casein delivers around 8 grams per 100. Pea protein delivers 7.2. Hemp protein delivers just 5.1, meaning to hit the same leucine threshold as one whey shake, you would need to consume more than double the grams of hemp protein. That is not a small difference. That is either a lot more powder, a lot more food, or a consistently under-triggered anabolic signal. The most important recent finding in protein science directly destroys the last major myth holding this whole conversation together. The 30-gram per meal ceiling. The idea that your body can only use 30 grams of protein at once and the rest gets wasted. Researchers at Maastricht University published a landmark study in Cell Reports Medicine proving that 100 grams of protein in a single meal produced a greater and more prolonged anabolic response than 25 grams, with the elevated response still measurable at the 12-hour mark. The body doesn't cap absorption at 30 grams. It simply slows digestion down to accommodate the larger load, extending the window over which amino acids are released. Roughly 85% of that 100-gram dose was directed toward tissue building. Almost nothing was wasted. The 30-gram rule was not science. It was a convenient excuse to sell you more frequent servings of a supplement. Gone? And the plant protein conversation deserves a final honest assessment because this one genuinely surprised even the researchers running the studies. See multiple controlled trials now, including a 10-week resistance training study and a 10-day controlled diet study, have found that vegan diets built identical amounts of muscle as omnivorous diets when total protein intake was matched at around 1.6 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Individual plant meals underperform compared to animal protein meals. But across a full day of eating, with varied plant sources, the numbers converge. The key variables are total intake and variety, not source. So here is the actual answer to the question this video was built around. There is no single protein source with the universally highest absorption rate, because absorption rate, quality score, leucine content, food matrix effects, and your gut microbiome all interact in ways that make the answer individual. But if you're asking what the data says about which protein sources give your body the most complete, most bioavailable, most muscle-relevant amino acid delivery per gram, casein leads the quality rankings in humans. Whole eggs outperform egg whites in actual muscle building by 40% despite equal protein content. Whey's leucine advantage is real and meaningful for acute post-workout spikes, and plant proteins at adequate total intake are more capable than their DIAAS scores suggest. The protein that builds the most muscle isn't the one with the best marketing. It's the one that your gut environment is equipped to absorb, in a dose your body can extend across a long enough window from a source that your microbiome hasn't been systematically dismantling for years. Fix the environment first, then argue about which tub to buy.